Hello again. I was thinking the other day about the violence in Bristol, both this year and last. Something which I find very scary is that many of the people whom we expect to be in charge of the country, politicians, senior police officers, and so on, appear to have the memories and attention spans of grasshoppers with ADHD. In other words, they have no knowledge at all or recollection of the past. They seem to live in a permanent present. This means that they can't draw upon the lessons to be learned from seeing how people in situations similar to their own manage to deal with problems. Bristol is a very good case in point. Following some disorder on the streets of Bristol a couple of weeks ago, the chair of the Avon and Somerset Police Federation, a chap called Andy Roebuck, said, "It's really unprecedented violence." What is he, 12 or something? A police van and a police car were torched, some fireworks were thrown and a few windows were broken. Seriously, unprecedented violence for Bristol. You don't have to look very far back to find violence on the streets of Bristol, which was a good deal worse than that. The thumbnail to this video shows buildings burning in Bristol during the ferocious rioting which took place in that city exactly 41 years ago on the 2nd of April 1980. This was in the St Paul's district. Shops and a bank was set on fire, there was widespread looting and a dozen police cars were wrecked. Fire engines and firefighters were attacked as they attended the scene. And of course more than 20 police officers were injured. The chief constable at the time ordered the police to withdraw from the area at the height of the disorder in a bid to calm things down, which is seldom a good move during a riot. I'll come to another example of that shortly. Seriously though, am I really the only person to remember this riot in Bristol? Mind you, that wasn't the worst rioting ever seen in Bristol, not by a long chalk. The Queen Square riots took place in October 1831. This was the time that, just before the Great Reform Act was passed, it had been presented to the Lords in the form of a bill and rejected, and a lot of ordinary people went mad. In Bristol for 3 days, mobs roamed the city, burning and looting and doing whatever they pleased. The Bishop of Bristol's palace was burned down. The city's jail was partially destroyed. Troops were called in to deal with the rioting, but the decision was then made to withdraw them in case the sight of them was provocative and annoying for the rioters. They thought, in other words, that having the forces of law and order there might be making things worse. Of course, as soon as the troops were taken out of the city, things got absolutely madly out of hand. And in the end, the cavalry were brought in and they charged the crowds with their sabres drawn. 4 people were killed during that particular spell of fighting, and another 4 men were subsequently hanged for their part in the riots. Believe it or not, though, that was nothing as to what happened in Bristol in 1793 during the Bristol Bridge riot. 11 people were killed on that occasion. What can people learn from these previous disturbances, assuming that they wish to study the past? Both in 1980 and in 1831, the forces of law and order were withdrawn in an attempt to calm down the situation. In both cases, this just led to the crowd thinking they could do exactly as it pleased and get away with murder, literally in some cases. Precisely the same thing happened last year, of course, when the police let a mob run riot, in case they made things worse by intervening. This was a direct cause, by the way, of the rioting a fortnight ago, because people got into the habit of seeing the police in Bristol as being weak and unable or unwilling to stand up to them. I get the very strong impression in the last few years that many people who are supposed to be in charge of things in Britain have no understanding of history or realisation that they could learn from studying it. And this is quite disturbing to me because it means that these people are meeting situations which have occurred time and again throughout British history, but they don't know anything about them. So each time they cobble together some ad hoc method for dealing with troubles like the riots in Bristol.